In a powerful show of force today, Fulton County DA Fani Willis made her case against Harrison Floyd, one of Donald Trump's 18 co-defendants in the Georgia election interference case. Now, if you remember, Floyd, as the head of Black Voices for Trump, orchestrated the strategy of harassing and intimidating election worker Ruby Freeman in an attempt to overturn the results of the 2020 election. Today, what was at issue in front of Judge Scott McAfee was whether Floyd violated his bond agreement by posting inflammatory social media posts directed at a number of witnesses in the case, including Ms. Freeman and Gabriel Sterling of the Georgia Secretary of State's office. Floyd, the perpetual troll that he is, began the hearing by reading from How to Think Like a Roman Emperor, the Stoic Philosophy of Marcus Aurelius. But Madam District Attorney did not come to play.
Your Honor, I just need to prove he violated the order once. He knew what he was doing. They signed this order. They agreed to it. There was a good reason to have an order with these conditions. And what we're really here to decide today is, does this order mean something or not? He doesn't get a, oh, I'm sorry, after I've already intimidated the witnesses in this case. It's too late. You should not have done this. You knew it was against the rules. You put someone in danger as a result of doing it, and now you need to be held accountable for it so that we can make sure that all of the defendants in this case get a fair trial and that witnesses are kept safe.
For over 3 hours, Willis laid out how Floyd broke the terms of his bond agreement. The first witness to be called was Michael Hill, an assistant chief in Willis's office, who testified about the authenticity and content of Floyd's posts on X Twitter and how the targets felt threatened. Here he is reading a message he received from Jenna Ellis after Floyd attacked her on former Twitter.
So in the message, Ms. Jenna Ellis states, I saw it a couple days after it was posted. Yes, I believe it was meant to both intimidate and harass me, and also encourage others to harass me, which others have done in the comments and separate posts.
Willis also called 2 more witnesses, Gabriel Sterling and Von Dubose, the lawyer for Ruby Freeman. Floyd is such a Trump disciple that his lawyers echoed Trump's lawyer by arguing that his comments were political speech protected by the First Amendment.
We don't, and we should not, chill speech. He has the right to make political speech. He has the right to talk about the facts of this case in Twitter.
DA Willis wanted Floyd remanded into custody today. The judge did not agree to that, but he did recognize that some of Floyd's posts were a technical violation of the terms of his bond, but that it didn't merit the revocation of his bond. He had the state modify the bond agreement to include tighter restrictions on his social media communications. Joining me now is Katie Phang, trial attorney and host of the Katie Phang Show on MSNBC, and Paul Butler, former federal prosecutor, professor at Georgetown School of Law, and MSNBC legal analyst. One of our favorite combos, Phang and Butler. The law office of Phang and Butler are here. Katie, I do want to start with you. You've been in that courtroom a lot. Please talk to us about this. First of all, the fact that Fani Willis is there in person making these arguments, and the fact that it seemed that Harrison Floyd did not respect the process. He seemed to pop off and to shake his head and not take it seriously. Your thoughts?
So I'm going to start with your last point first. And the reason why that's good news for DA Fani Willis's office is she just set him up to fail today, as did Judge McAfee. And what do I mean by that? Well, with a tighter, more detailed, more narrow modified bond conditions for Harrison Floyd, when he violates, because we know he will, he shouldn't be reading How to Be a Roman Emperor. He should be reading Criming for Dummies, because then he'd figure out how to not get into trouble. But it was a show of force. This is the first time that DA Fani Willis, since the release of that indictment, has been in court for pretrial hearings. And it makes sense because it put the defense on notice of the kind of prosecutor, trial lawyer, litigator that Fani Willis delivers, the type of work and performance that she does. It was straight fire today. And that's what was needed because, you know, Joy, this was the first time that the DA's office was on the offensive. On prior hearings, it's been defense motions to dismiss, et cetera. But today it was the state's motion to revoke his bond. And Harrison Floyd shows no discipline. He has no discipline. He doesn't listen to his lawyers. He doesn't listen. Sounds just like Donald Trump, in my opinion, right? But now we have a much more narrow, modified bond order. And it's just going to be violated, and I think very soon.
And when it gets violated, then he goes to jail, right?
Yeah, and I think what happens today is Judge McAfee basically put Harrison Floyd on notice as well. I've given you a chance. It's not really a second chance. And the judge made sure he made it clear. I'm not giving him a second chance. I'm just saying that there needs to be more nuances in light of the fact that social media exists. And I think it was an acknowledgement that, look, we got to catch up. The judicial system has to catch up with social media. It's the 21st century. So when you're having these consent bond orders, meaning when the sides are agreeing to the terms of your bond, they got to be really, really specific so that you don't allow people to try to thread a needle in a way where they can get away with threatening somebody like Ruby Freeman over and over again.
Right, and that's what he's on trial for. You know, Paul, can you put that picture video back up, please? Downtown Sterling Brown, our wonderful director, of him. This guy thinks he's Donald Trump. He's popping off in the courtroom. You could see him there sort of rolling his eyes, looking around. He apparently shook his head as she made her arguments. He was openly derisive, or she was openly derisive, saying he can publicly criticize me all he wants. I don't value his opinion. He said at one point, she's just mad that she can't get past the Uncle Tom. That's because she's a little district attorney. At one point, at some point, Willis called Donald Trump Mr. Trump, and he loudly corrected her President Trump and was reprimanded by McAfee. It's a ridiculous performative mess. Does it surprise you that he was the only guy jailed before, remember? Are you surprised he didn't get jailed? He was the only one, the black guy.
Yeah, again, I'm not surprised because the judge said he doesn't think that Mr. Floyd is trying to intimidate witnesses, but rather Mr. Floyd might be trying to holler at some of his co-defendants. So it's a technical violation, but not a big one, and he shouldn't go to jail. But can we talk about the other way that Mr. Floyd is just like Mr. Trump? You know, Donald Trump loves to call black prosecutors racist. He said that about D.A. Bragg, he said it about Letitia James, and he said it about D.A. Willis. Today, Mr. Floyd played the race card, which is kind of weird in a case with a black prosecutor and a black defendant. Mr. Floyd's lawyer claims that D.A. Willis is just out to get Mr. Floyd because he's a black conservative. The defense says it's just like when another black conservative, Clarence Thomas, said he was subject to a high-tech lynching when Anita Hill said that Thomas had sexually harassed her. So according to the defense, D.A. Willis is just another black woman trying to bring a black male conservative down. Joy, we don't have enough time to unpack how wrong and dumb that claim is, but I'm not surprised that D.A. Willis felt compelled to show up in the courtroom today to address this herself.
Well, you know, but he may not want that analogy because in that case, that was Clarence Thomas credibly accused of harassing a black woman. And in this case, he is credibly accused of harassing and essentially terrorizing a black woman and her black woman daughter. So he may have stumbled into an analogy that ain't cute, right, Paul?
That's exactly right. So the bond order, the reason that he's not locked up prior to trial requires him not to communicate in any way with people who are going to be witnesses. We know that Ruby Freeman is going to be a witness in this case. The indictment accuses Mr. Floyd of trying to intimidate her, saying that she's going to get locked up because of election fraud, trying to pressure Ms. Freeman into admitting that she committed election fraud, which she absolutely did not permit. And so you're totally right. It's Mr. Floyd who really is attacking, harassing a black woman in the same way that Anita Hill's very credible allegations against Clarence Thomas suggested that he did.
Yeah, all he needs is a nice, rich benefactor to take him on fancy trips, and then the analogy would be complete. And a Ginny Thomas to be an insurrectionist. Anyway, he's the insurrectionist himself. Katie Phang, Paul Butler, thank you both very much.